All right, folks, here we go. So today we're working with special right triangles. We're going to break this down into a section A, 8.3a, and then next we'll go to 8.3b. Same idea, just two different specific triangles we're going to work with. So this one's called a 45, 45, 90. Hopefully you understand those numbers represent angles. So what we have here is we have a triangle. Obviously it's a right triangle because it's 90 degrees. These two are the exact same degree measures. So in a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, the length of the hypotenuse is the side opposite the 90, is a square root of 2 times the length of a leg. So the leg are the sides that are not the hypotenuse. So here's a leg here, here's a leg here. Those two are equal. So if we want to go from the leg to the hypotenuse, you multiply by the square root of 2. If you want to go from the hypotenuse to the leg, you would divide by the square root of 2. So we're going to go through that scenario in quite a different ways here today, so we can grasp the idea and concept a little bit. So let's actually start with one of those and just try to give you an idea of what we're looking at, and then everything else will kind of flow off of this. So sometimes I'll just give you this, and you have to know that this is a 90-degree angle. These two here are equal, so therefore and if those two are equal, the angles opposite are going to be equal. So that guarantees us that we have a 45, 45, 90, even though they may not have stated it. Let's say we give you a 6 right here as a side measure. Then this is also 6. To go from leg to hypotenuse, you get 6 times the square root of 2. Okay? That's just kind of an idea of how to walk through that. That part's really probably pretty easy. This one's a little more challenging when you go in the opposite direction. So let's say, for example, they give you the hypotenuse. To go from the hypotenuse to the leg, you divide by the square root of 2. So if you go 10 divided by the square root of 2, and again, after all the review we did with square roots, hopefully you know we don't leave the square root of 2 in the denominator, so we go times the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, so we get 10 square roots of 2 over 2, which we will reduce to 5 square root of 2. So this is 5 square root of 2, and this is 5 square root of 2. And that's just a kind of brief overview of all the different things that we're going to walk through. This slide is the exact same one as we did on the other. Now we're just practicing different scenarios. We have a 45. This is 45. This is 90. So this has to be 45. These two are equal. Those two are both 9. To go from a leg to the hypotenuse, you multiply by the square root of 2. So it's very simple as 9 times the square root of 2. Done with that one. Just to show you there. So now, again, same idea. These two are equal. So therefore, we have a 45, 45, 90. Here's your 90 degrees here. How do you go from the leg to the hypotenuse? You multiply by the square root of 2. So 6 square root of 2 times the square root of 2. This is a pair of 2's. You take that out of the square root. 6 times 2. Final answer is 12. The hypotenuse is 12. That just shows you the same thing we just did. Now, multiple choice question. I'd like you to obviously try that one on your own. And if, again, this is 45, so this is 45. This is 90, this is 7, this is 7 here. To go from a leg to hypotenuse, you was 7 times the square root of 2. Final answer is C in this case, C. Next slide here, again, we're going from, this is a 45, 45, 90, because those two are equal. We're going from a leg to hypotenuse, so 8 times the square root of 2. You multiply by the square root of 2. Pair of 2's, 8 times 2. Final answer, 16. Letter C. That's just a practice one here if you want to try that one on your own, walk you through. So if this is 8, you're going from hypotenuse to leg. You're dividing by the square root of 2. You go from hypotenuse to leg. So again, you don't leave it this way. So you get 8 square roots of 2 over 2. Again, that's a pair of 2's, which equals 4 times the square root of 2. And again, they show you that on the next slide. You can look that over there. So now we're doing the same thing here in reverse. This is 6. They want you to get the leg, so it's 6 divided by the square root of 2. Square root of 2 times the square root of 2. We get 6 square root of 2 over 2. Reduce those, becomes 3 times the square root of 2. 3 times the square root of 2, that is letter A. Letter A. So now we're trying the same concept here. 45, 45 here, 45, 45, 90. This is 3, this is 3. And then how do you go from that to that? You go 3 times the square root of 2. So y is 3 times the square root of 2. Next one here, they give us the square root of 3. They tell you that these slashes, those two are equal, so this is also the square root of 3. Now we want to go from the leg to the hypotenuse, so square root of 3 times the square root of 2. That's not a pair, so you're just going to multiply those together and end up with the square root of 6. Next one here says find the diagonal of a square, so let's sketch ourselves a square. Find the diagonal of a square if the sides are 3 centimeters. So that's a diagonal. We know this is 90. This has to be 45 and 45. It says find the diagonal if the sides are 3. So if that's 3 centimeters, that's a leg. We want the hypotenuse. How do we get the hypotenuse? You just go 3 times the square root of 2. Final answer, 3 times the square root of 2. Last one here, folks. Last one here. Taking a look at what we have, it says each of these right here is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. The hypotenuse is, so let me just re-sketch this to make it a little bit easier to see. So that's this triangle right here, sketched. The hypotenuse is 5 times the square root of 2. We want to find this side right here. How do you go from the hypotenuse to a leg? You divide by the square root of 2. 5 square root of 2 divided by square root of 2 is 5. So this is 5. So this is 5. So every side is 5. 5, 10, 15, 20. This whole side is 20. This is 20. This is 20. And this is 20. Final perimeter equals 80 centimeters. 80 centimeters. Great job, folks. That is the end of the 45, 45, 90 notes.